Welcome, everyone. I see Cal Staff's already in chat here. Welcome, my man. I'm joined as usual by Viktor Gorchev and a special guest this week, MagicUser, a fellow YouTuber here talking about stuff in the hobby, and kind of reached out to you kind of last minute, so I appreciate you coming on. But I kind of wanted to have you on for a while because I like your content, and I think your channel needs more people watching you. So
Yeah.
Well, happy to have you on and talking to you about stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know where we'll go, but I think it'll be a fun conversation, just shooting the shit about the hobby. So
yeah.
Is it just me or is your camera acting up, John?
Maybe. My internet's kind of being weird. Hold on a minute.
Yeah, your audio is fine, but your camera is like all laggy and grainy. Hey, Kelstaff. Oh, you just. Oh.
And he's gone.
Yeah, it says device is not connected on his end.
All right.
Panic time. No, the host is not here.
Nothing. Everything's good, guys.
Yeah.
We're all good.
I don't know.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know what happened there. It says my connection's kind of crappy. I don't know what's going on, but
yeah.
Maybe I can't have a camera. Let's see. Yeah, it ain't working. I might have to be without a camera this week, so sorry guys, but
yeah.
No one wants to look at my face anyways, so
Elstaff says I just got promoted, so yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming on, MagicUser. It means a lot, and just interested to hear what you have to say and talking about the hobby and whatnot. I don't know where to start. I guess what are you currently running? What's your current thing that you're are you in multiple games right now? Are you running a game yourself? Are you just a player, or what's?
I've got one game I'm running. I'm running a DCC campaign with that, and I have another game I'm playing as a player, and it's a 5th edition game. But with my group, we just switched from 5e into DCC. We've been doing DCC now for about 2 years.
Nice.
Around that time. Yeah. And my discovery of DCC is kind of like opened the doors up from like the OSR stuff. And it's completely like changed the way I run the game. And yeah.
So even in 5e, like it changes. Would you say it changes the way you approach 5e as well?
Yeah, specifically as a player, I don't think I can DM 5e again personally. It's a very difficult game. It's a frustrating game to DM. It's not difficult to DM. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
So I just don't feel it's definitely like a player centered game. 5e is now, I think.
Yeah.
Real quick. Sorry for GM Stillhaven. So I owe you a copy of Atomic Punk. So I don't know if you've responded to my emails, but I owe you a copy. So just let me know if the address I have is a good one to send it to you, because I want to send you the book that I owe you. So yeah. Anyway, sorry for interrupting. While I had that train of thought, I wanted to throw that out there.
I mean, it's your show, man.
But yeah, I agree. Like I think it sounds like you kind of came to the same conclusions that I sort of came to with my 5e experience. Is would you say it was kind of burnout? Was like,
oh my god, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Is burnout. It was just like, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna ask you, what do you think caused that burnout? What do you think?
It gets to the point with 5e. I like to run low fantasy games ish and sprinkle in some high fantasy stuff. But it became really difficult to run that sort of game, even at like level 5.
Yeah.
Because I'm having to throw in the whole freaking bathtub at my players to try to get some sort of challenge out of them, or I have to completely monkey wrench the whole thing to make it challenging. So there's a lot of extra work that I had to do, and it was work that really I didn't feel like it was enjoying it, I guess.
Yeah, I had that kind of experience. I think the last vanilla 5e campaign I ran, the ending was kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
It was sort of just like, well, it's over. You know,
Yeah.
like we got to the end, it's done. And it felt very anticlimactic, and it felt very forced because I wanted it to be over.
Yeah.
I was done with it at that point. It felt bad for my players, but they stuck around. They seemed to have. They told me at the end, "Oh, that was fun. Thanks. That was a lot of." So I think if your players are having a good time, they probably won't notice the burnout right away. But yeah, I was ready to be done with it. Vic over here is still running 5e and making content for 5e, obviously, and I think maybe because you play with certain people, you know, that probably are not. I don't. We never talked about how you vet players or anything like that, but
I don't know. Same way I just vet anyone else. Just if they're cool, they're cool.
Yeah,
hey, that's how it's always been. If you're cool, you play.
No,
right?
I definitely feel you though. Like I ran my own homebrew campaign. I'm still currently running Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd is pretty fun, but my homebrew campaign, I was definitely kind of done with it towards the end, and I just kind of like, yeah, okay, we're just fucking ending it now, and I don't want to even look at this for a while. So, like, I get you guys completely, and I completely agree with the issues that 5e has. Like, it's very player centric. The power creep is definitely there. The players are way more powerful than the mobs. Like the action economy for the mobs, for the monsters, is just shit. Yeah, so pretty much all the things you guys said. So
you said you're the one running the DCC game, or
yeah, I'm running it right now.
Okay. Have you tried any other OSR games, or is DCC kind of your only one, or you done one shots and others, or anything like that?
I've got a bunch of OSR rule systems that I've been looking at, but currently DCC is the only one I've been playing in and running in and playing in. I really want to try out. God, there's so many. I don't know if would y'all consider like first edition Warhammer as that umbrella of OSR, or would that be something like if it's?
It depends on who you ask, really.
Yeah, it kind of depends on who you ask.
Like everyone has a different opinion on what constitutes OSR. So
yeah, it depends on what. I personally, I kind of hold to OSR just for the sake of sticking to terms that people understand as being stuff that uses like old school D&D rules, because like when you go on Drive Through RPG and you look at OSR, that's what a lot of those games are, is like 99% of them are BX under the hood or AD&D, something like that under the hood in some respect. So that's just what I stick to, just for the sake of. I know some people don't like that term, and I don't get mad at someone who has a different definition of it from me, but just for the sake of people knowing what I'm talking about, that's generally what I mean. So
yeah,
that sounds about right. Yeah. But no, yeah. So DCC is really my first foray into it. I'm loving it. It's heavily modified, but
yeah,
it's so much fun. Oh my gosh, that magic system is bonkers. It's crazy. It's so much fun. I love it.
Yeah, it definitely has one of the better, I think, rather than just the simple like Vancian style spell slot. It definitely has its own little twist on that classic spell system, which is pretty neat. I like that there's the risk of failure and that there's consequences for failure.
So what does DCC build on? Like, is it BX? Is it OD&D? Is it AD&D? What is it?
I believe
it's just its own system. Okay.
I thought it was like based in third edition, but with just an AD&D take, because it's still a D20 roll. And
well, so is BX in a lot of cases.
Oh, it is?
So,
okay.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Do thieves use percentile rolls for skills? That's a good indicator of
They don't.
They don't. Okay.
They don't. They use D20. Or one of, and it's either that or it's one of their weird dice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I haven't actually ran Dungeon Crawl Classics, but okay, so Poncho, he's a pretty knowledgeable guy. He says DCC is a mix of BX and 3rd edition. So there you
okay.
go.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds actually pretty cool. I might have to check that out.
So 3E saves type of system, but BX classes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they have my favorite warrior class. The way they do mighty deeds is so cool. It really makes you just have so many options as a martial character in that game, but it's just in one class. So it's really simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on our Gilded server. I've been harassing people on the server today with the original OD&D because I've been going through that lately, trying to piece together how to play that. Vic was making fun of me earlier. He shared a GIF of Indiana Jones with the charcoal rubbing John trying to figure out how to play original D&D.
Yeah. Doing on the tablets, there's doing taking the charcoal tablet thing in the what is it, that movie?
They're gonna need to get a translator. I can't understand this part.
It needs the Rosetta Stone.
Well, I do find myself flipping between chainmail and OD&D and outdoor adventures, survival. So it's
outdoor survival, huh? That's cool.
Yeah. So original D&D, a lot of game groups used outdoor survival. It's actually recommended in original Dungeons and Dragons itself. It says in original D&D you need chainmail for the mass combat, and you need outdoor survival for the wilderness adventure stuff. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of those three things, and the first edition, that original edition of D&D, was kind of just a hack of all that stuff mixed together.
Yeah.
It makes sense in the circumstances they were playing the game in too. It was just hey, this is just what we do, and y'all try it out.
Well, the whole reason Gary made Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was because he called original D&D a non-game, because you go to one group and they played it completely different from another group. That's why when you talk about original D&D online, it just always ends up in fights.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Because everyone has their own interpretation of those very vague rules in those 3 little black books. So
wow, that's crazy. Dang.
It's really so I'm trying to piece together how would you play original D&D if you only had 3 little black books, chainmail, and outdoor survival. I'm trying to figure out how people play that on my own. It's been kind of difficult today, so
really?
Not really made much progress.
That's really what's stumping you, if you don't mind me asking. I'm curious.
I guess it's the attacks. I was talking with Likely Arrow on the server how to make the attacks work, the attack matrices work. So there's their own attack matrices on Matrix for OD&D for man on man, but every weapon in OD&D in the rules as written just does a 1d6. Doesn't matter. If it's a dagger, it's a 1d6. If it's a polearm, it's a 1d6.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, it wasn't until later where you got the Greyhawk supplement, which was supplement 1, that you had the dice that we know today, where clerics are rolling a d6 for hit die, and thieves and magic users are using d4s and stuff like that. In OD&D, everyone's on a d6 hit die, and all the damage is a d6. Doesn't matter what you're swinging. So chainmail has a weapon versus armor attack matrices that you kind of have to look at too, to see which, if I'm using a dagger and I'm attacking a guy with chainmail on with my dagger, what are how do those two things affect each other in combat? You have to look at the matrix for that, and it's
Dang.
so I'm trying to figure that out, and it's as clear as mud to me, at least. Maybe I'm retarded. I don't know. I might be retarded.
Dude, that sounds that's a scholarly research you're doing right now.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out how to play the freaking game.
Yeah, I just want to know how to play the game.
Well, that's why I was making fun of him with like the Indiana Jones memes.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you need like the Stone of Gygax to like translate this shit.
Stone of Gygax. Man, that's crazy. Wow. So I have been trying to find a decent mass combat rule system that has an OSR flair to it, and I've found something on drive-through that I like. It's a more modern, streamlined take, I think, on the basic rules for mass combat. But how is chainmail? Actually, I'm curious.
I mean, it's pretty good. It's an interesting read. I mean, it's Gary he's very scatterbrained in his writing. Gary Gygax. That's why OD&D, that's why AD&D is to me kind of like a mess to learn from.
Yeah, no, it's
he's just like, he's talking to you about generating ability scores, and then he goes off on this tangent mid-paragraph of like God knows what.
Okay, all right, back. We gotta get back.
He's just talking about the Crusades or something, like in the middle of like a wolf explanation.
And that's why dexterity is so important. So the Crusade.
Yeah, because when you're fighting Saladin,
and
I mean, it's fun stuff, because it does feel like when you read Gary's rules, the way he wrote books, like it does feel like you're sitting down and talking to Gary, and he's trying to explain it to you like face to face. He has a very like, that tone is very apparent in all the editions that he had his hands on, but it also affects just like, wait a minute, how do you do this? You know?
Yeah, no, AD&D, like, I mean, I love the AD&D books, and I use the random tables from that religiously.
Sure.
It is, I think I've never used any DMG from because the editions I've really played in have been 3rd and 3.5, 5e, and that's about it, really. So I've never really even looked at those DMGs, or never really used them very often. But the AD&D one, oh my gosh, I could use that in any edition, really. It's just so good at generating content. It's great.
Mm-hmm. The appendices are pretty good in AD&D one. I mean, 5e, like, it's funny, the one thing the 5e DMG has, it's like really great, is that dungeon generator at the end, and that's just like a truncated version of the one in the first edition AD&D book, and it's like the best thing in the 5e DMG. Everything else is like kind of meh, to my opinion, but like that tool's pretty good in the 5e DMG.
If you want another book like that's just chock full of like information and helpful tools and stuff, get the Rules Cyclopedia.
Yeah,
that one is amazing.
That's I think my next buy is going to be that, I think. Yeah,
the Rules Cyclopedia is great. It's funny, Poncho here. At the Basic Expert, until you figure it out, Arrow won't have anyone to play chainmail with. I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure it out. Likely Arrow's helping me. He's helping me a lot. And trying to understand what the heck I'm trying to do. So
it's just gonna turn into you guys doing your own like chainmail clone. You know it is.
Potentially, who knows? I just want to understand it. You know, I just want to understand how did these kids play this game in 1974? You know, the easy solution is to just use the Greyhawk supplement 1, because that does fix a lot of the problems I'm running into. But I'm really trying to avoid that, because I want to know how you play the game without that supplement. So
here's a thought. Do you think maybe the misunderstandings that you're having with the book might be because maybe these rules made sense to them in that time frame when they were playing those games in their basements? Like,
well, I think there's a lot of context that I don't have. That like a lot of those guys in the Twin Cities that had been playing war games with each other for like years, they had that sort of context that even today a lot of people don't have, even if you're like deep in the OSR. Because the thing is like the OSR is mostly BX. It's not OD&D. It's not AD&D even, really. A lot of the lingua franca of the OSR is is BX, Basic Expert Rules.
Okay.
I mean, which is honestly for the moment, one of my favorite editions of D&D, because it is very simple. It kind of has an OD&D feel, but it's a little more streamlined. It's a little more focused. Because Gary appointed different people to write and compile those. Those were not directly written by Gary Gygax. But yeah, I think there's some context that's missing that you have to, which is why I'm reading Chainmail and why I'm trying to read Outdoor Adventure and trying to understand like how they played the game back then to get that context, because I think I'll understand it better if I do. But
yeah, I get what you mean, because I think I had a very different perception of how D&D is like designed to be played. And one of those was like, I was very, I don't want to say railroady, but I can't think of a better phrase for it. But I was very much, okay, we have a whole story arc, a big campaign arc that we're all going to follow. And the players are just kind of like on a roller coaster. Okay.
Yeah.
I think 5 kind of, sometimes the rules kind of create that a little bit. Not all the time. But when I started getting into this OSR stuff, I started realizing, and then I read through didn't read all of it, but started skimming through the AD&D DMG. I realized, okay, D&D is played very differently than what I used to think it like was. I thought it was like a improv. I mean, it is an improv session, kind of, but like a theater play with your friends. Where everybody has a character that like, oh, I already know. At one point, I want this character to do this thing. It's like I'm trying to make a drama or something, and I don't know. I think that's how I used to think the game was played. So
yeah, that's how I used to run games too. I think that was what contributed to my burnout. But yeah, when you see, because you're always like, oh, I got to make like this next plot hook like the best thing ever. Keep my players engaged, and I hope they think that this little like twist is cool, or that this bad guy is cool, or this whatever is cool, and this set piece is interesting, and this combat is interesting. Whereas like now the way I run games is like I almost do like no prep and I just make stuff up as I go.
Yep.
Well, that's why the OSR has like a lot of random tables, which like they kind of got rid of that in 5th edition and stuff. You're like supposed to rely on your own imagination, and and then the OSR is like, yeah, no, just roll this random table. It's like, oh yeah, now you're fighting wolves while you're on the way to this temple to get a cure for your village. Okay, let's go. And yeah.
And I think those tables, they really do. I think they encourage creativity because it's kind of like a controlled creative outlet. Yeah. So like if you have like, oh, a guy is stuck on the road, his cart's wheel broke off and there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
You as the DM, like, okay, what's the problem? Quickly come up with some stuff, and you might have an adventure on your hands depending on how your players react.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been able to get to that without that random table, at least getting me there at the place I need to be. So
yeah,
Calstaff is.
Go ahead,
said Calstaff as usual with his wisdom. The story emerges in old school D&D as opposed to the storyline being determined in 5e by an epic story art. And yeah, that's the kind of the thing that I learned. In my gaming, you want a product with good tables, and I've been chilling this for a while. Scarlet Heroes,
yeah,
that's a
Scarlet
good game.
Heroes.
It's called Scarlet. It's BX under the hood mostly, but it's meant for solo gaming, or for if you're going to do like a one-on-one game where there's one DM, one player, or maybe two players.
Scarlet Heroes. I'm gonna just
Kevin. It's Kevin Crawford, right? He's like known for like just like putting out books that are basically just just tables and like all that stuff where you can just create your own like worlds on the fly and your own plots on the fly. He's like really amazing at that stuff.
Yeah, Scarlet Heroes is great. Like I was doing some solo gaming with a thief character I made. So I use solo gaming to explore my setting. I mentioned this before, where I make a character in Scarlet Heroes and I go and just go hex by hex and explore stuff. And then, oh, there's a dungeon here. Oh, there's there's a bandit hideout here. And then that's stuff that my players can run into later when I bring it to the table. And I've kind of already played it. I've kind of already played it on my own. I've kind of already experienced it. So I kind of know how to run it when they encounter it. And so it's just, for me, it's just a fun way of world building where I get to play because I never get to play. But it has some amazing tables in it. It has great tables. Like I was traveling the road and I did a random encounter and I met a merchant. And you can ask questions. So like I was like, oh, I'm gonna ask the merchant what he's doing. And so I came about where like a storyline was just generated from rolling on tables where he was traveling back to the city I was just leaving to collect a debt from someone. And it was like, oh, that's something like I could have my character pursue, or I could give that to my players at the table where there's this merchant in this town that's looking to have a debt collected and needs some help doing that. And that is something I probably wouldn't have thought of doing on my own, even though it seems so simple. But like in my head, instantly, I already had all these ideas sort of springing forth just from that little like prompt, I guess. So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that out. That sounds awesome. Is it like a choose your own adventure book? Is it like, has that how it kind of works, or?
No, it has just like random. Here, let me see if I'll put it on the screen. Let's see.
Because that's very interesting. That is like a good, that'd be like a good exercise to build that skill, and running your games.
Well, it's a good game for learning to improvise on the spot.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can use these tables. You can use these tables like in your regular game as well. Like you don't have to be running Scarlet Heroes to be doing it. You can use these rules however you want. So let's see here. Solo gaming. So you have like these general oracles. So like you can ask a question of an NPC that you encounter, and you just like roll on these oracles and get like these yes or no, dude. And like how far is the thing, what is the weather like, you have motivations, you have relationships. It's just like tons of tables of reactions, temperaments, and then you have like stuff to generate random urban adventures, which is cool. Wilderness adventures, which is what I've been using to go like hex by hex in my map and discover like what's in each hex. Let me zoom out a little bit. So then you have like, the way it works is as you're traveling, you go to a hex and then you roll like a d6 to see if there's a random encounter. Okay, if there is or isn't a random encounter, then you roll to see if there's an event of some kind. So you roll a d8. If you're just starting out, if it's a 1, or if you roll a 1, an event occurs. If you roll over a 1, the range increases to 2 next time. So the next time you roll it, if you roll a 1 or 2, then an event occurs. If you roll over that, then it keeps going up and up and up, increasing the likelihood of an event occurring the further you travel. And the same goes for features, which might be a dungeon or an abandoned temple. So you have like these things here for terrain type if you want to just generate a map, if you don't have one already generated. And then you have for like if it's a feature, is it a ruin, something natural, structural, or a settlement? And then some details about that feature, like who built it. And then events, you have like weather events that could be like your food is spoiled or one of your mounts dies, to terrain events, which are might be more encounters, might be like natural events that occur that could affect travel and whatnot. And you can use this again for solo play, or you could use this, I think, for on the fly running your
totally. You know what's crazy? This is more content than WotC has made, I think, in the last couple books. Like this is crazy good. Like this is great.
Yeah, Kevin Corvert's known for that. He has a book called Worlds Without Numbers, where you can basically just like do like a whole like space opera thing and like generate like whole planets and like systems and stuff on the fly. Like he's like awesome with that.
I'll need to look at his stuff. Holy crap, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I've been using this for my prep. Like I'll just like do a little solo game for like an hour, you know? Like instead of playing a video game, I'll just do this.
Yeah.
and then
Oh my gosh, yeah.
you know, like, oh cool, I generated some new points on my map. And let me actually see here. I'll show my map, like kind of what I've done here.
I've been wanting to use this with one of my friends to basically run like a Witcher style campaign, where it's literally just like one badass going around traveling the land, like taking jobs to hunt like monsters and various bad guys and stuff. And Scarlet Hill, I think, would be perfect for that.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's like having this for like a hex crawl would be great.
Well, Scarlet Hill also has rules for basically like to facilitate that solo play. It does like combat a little bit differently. So instead of doing like a certain number of like damage, you basically do damage to hit dice. So it's like if you roll a 1 to a 3, that's like 1 hit dice of damage. If you roll to like a 4 to a 7, that's like 2 hit dice of damage. So you can basically like one shot like a 1 hit dice creature if you roll if you hit, or you can one shot a 2 hit dice creature. So it kind of makes it a bit more easier to like to solo fight things and survive. It's still deadly, but yeah, you just don't need like a four member party basically.
So this is my map in Worldographer, and it's what I use for my campaign. And like all these points here, like this old burned orc village, this orc lair, lizard folk ruins. There's a witch hut over here, a refugee camp over here. This is all stuff I discovered with just like making characters and Scarlet Heroes and just going around on this map and fighting monsters and doing random encounters and dungeon delves in here.
That's so cool. Wow. Dang.
Did you draw that? Did you like place everything on that map yourself, or did you just like literally generate a random one in the program?
It just generated a random one in the. Are you talking about the landscape or the?
Yeah, the landscape, like the actual tiles.
The tiles, I'm kind of just. I made it myself. I didn't let it randomly generate, but it actually was originally based on a hand drawn map I did that I wanted to convert to a hex crawl map. But let's see.
I'm still using that incarnate. I find that decent for making hex maps. It's a little time consuming, but
yeah.
I mean, like I said, you could use this if you wanted to, and you could just solo game yourself and do some world building. I highly recommend everyone else to just check this out because it's good stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
You have like the basic classes too. So you have cleric, fighter, magic user, and thief. And yeah, like as Vic said, you have your fray dice. So essentially like you're dealing damage to hit die. And so let me see here, combat. So when you roll for damage, if you roll a 1, then you don't deal any damage.
Yeah,
but if you roll like a 2 to a 5, you do 1 point of damage to an entire hit die. 6 to 9 is 2 points, and a 10 or more is 4 points. And then you have your fray die, which is an extra dice that you could roll that affects creatures of of hit die that are equal to your level or below, and that just deals more hit die damage. So it is like OSR superhero mode. That's why you're able to like solo game with a single character. Because prior to this, I was just doing. I would try and make like a whole party in like White Box, fantastic medieval adventure game, because it's simple and I felt like I could run a whole. I didn't like running a whole party by myself for solo gaming. Again, one character is not viable. He's going to get curb stomped like pretty easily in an OSR game. So this is like a great game for doing that. So yeah, everyone check it out.
Don't the fray die also like let you like kill multiple enemies at once? So say like if you're dealing with like 2 1-hit dice creatures and you roll enough where you can kill the one, but you still do enough damage to also do like the other one, you can basically just like kill them both in one shot.
Yeah. If you have the fray die and your damage and you roll enough to deal like 1 hit point of damage with your sword, and the fray die deals enough damage to deal 1 hit die of damage there, and you're facing like 2 1-hit die enemies, you just took out both of them. So
yeah.
But yeah.
Dang, yeah, I'm gonna have to get my hands on that. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, Kevin Crawford has a lot of stuff. T-shirt Distorting put me onto a little supplement for Scarlet Heroes that adds even more classes. So
Yeah. Oh, hey, Chris. Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed that conversation with Modern Myth. They're good guys.
yeah,
Tom's a good guy. So
I'm a big fan of their YouTube channel.
they
Yeah.
did a
Good
really
stuff.
nice review of my book. So probably the nicest one I've had so far.
And hey, Yodano's here. Welcome, Yodano.
Hey, Dano.
But yeah, I suggest Scarlet Heroes. Like, it's a good way of world building because I don't know. I wasn't enjoying just sitting down and like looking at a hex map and going, right here, that looks like a good place to put a dungeon, or a settlement. Like, it was kind of fun to play because I don't always get to play as a character in solo game and like, oh, look, I just discovered there's a village here, or there's a dungeon here, or an abandoned temple. This is cool.
I kind of like the idea of a mix of things. So you take like one big map and you'll take like you'll choose like a couple spots where you put like big settlements that you have planned and maybe that are attached to like actual modules, like actual like old school modules like the Keep on the Borderlands or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
But then everything in between you fill out with like random stuff, like all the little stuff basically.
That's kind of
think that
been
would
what
be
I've
cool.
It's kind of been what I've been doing because like on my map, a lot of those bigger cities, I just placed there. I just decided like that seems like a logical place for like a city or a village to be. But yeah, all the stuff in between, just send a character in there and be like, oh, look, there's a dungeon here. My players might be able to discover, and maybe I can link it to an adventure or something.
It's a really It's a really unique way of doing it. Like it's smart, and it makes prepping probably pretty fun too.
Yeah, I enjoy prep.
excited,
It's not like, oh god, I got to prep for tonight's game. It's like, I'll just I'll just do a solo session for an hour and look, cool, I generate some content for tonight. Awesome.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed since I've kind of had this switch in mentality in how I play my games now is I still do a lot of prep, but I feel like it's more meaningful prep. I'm very particular about what I actually need and what I don't need, and then how much I'm relying on tables too, because those tables are great.
Oh, well, we got a super chat from the wonderful GM Steelhaven. Hey, the super chat works neat. Since they work now, let me throw a question to panel. Thoughts on White Wolf games from early 90s to present? Well, I'm going to be honest, I've never played any White Wolf, and the guy I know, Rune Knight, was on the Gilded server, who would be like the guy to talk to about White Wolf games, is not here right now. So
Yeah.
I was never really that interested in VTM myself or any of the White Wolf games per se, although I heard good things about they did the Street Fighter game, right?
Yeah.
I've heard good things about that Street Fighter game, but I've not.
White Wolf does Vampire, right?
Yeah, World of Darkness.
Yeah, World of Darkness. Okay, yeah.
Having looked a little bit at the system, like it's alright. Like, it wasn't really my thing, like the system per se. But I always loved the world building. Like there's like a ton of flavor. I love Bloodlines, the PC game, and the one PC game that's before that's set doing like the Crusades and stuff. Like, so yeah, the worlds that they made is like awesome. Like all the settings and all the little flavor, like I said. But the system, like, I don't know. Even Rune Knight will agree that the system isn't like always the best. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of vampires. In fact, the game I'm running right now is a villain. The center is the villain is a vampire.
Yeah.
So I have a copy of I think it's the first edition of the Masquerade, of Vampire the Masquerade. I don't remember if it's first edition. It's one of the earlier games.
Yeah.
And I love just the lore. And it's very inspiring. And they really did a good job of capturing of like how to do a vampire, and I think in a game. But I don't like those story type of games. I don't really like those type of systems. It's just not my thing.
It was kind of like one of the first like theater kit games. And it might actually be where a lot of like our current problems come from as far as all that stuff goes. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the big shift happened with when D&D got really big with Critical Role, because that set the expectations for people's games.
Yeah.
Which in reality, most games aren't Critical Role at all.
No.
Not
Yeah,
at all.
I've told people how like I got my start in 4th edition because I got started. I finally took the dive and wanted to get into the hobby, like when 4th edition was still going, and so that you walk into the game store and that's what's there. But see, even then, my perception of what Dungeons and Dragons was it was about dungeons. It was about going to this subterranean place where everything wants to murder you and eat you.
Yeah.
And it so that's how I ran my 4th edition games, was like dungeon crawls. I unknowingly kind of did them in an old school way. But then, after a while, the story gamer part started to take over, and I sort of went that route for a good long while into the 5e days, and then really came back to how I originally ran games, essentially when I came to the OSR. So I would agree that expectation has been set by actual plays, and it's kind of changed people's perception of what the hobby is now.
It's so strange, like the way, like I get people who get attached to their characters, especially if they go through a game for a while, and there's been some risky moments, but people get so attached to them, it's really odd. Like, and this the thought of a character dying, like you're gonna need to put like a warning sign, like it happened with Critical Role, right? Not too long ago.
Yeah,
that's just I don't understand that. When I hear when people tell me that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is so weird. Like, I had that reaction when I had my character my first character that I died for me. It was when I was playing in 3rd edition. I was like in 5th grade. I'm used to playing video games. My elf drinks poison by mistake, dies at the spot, and I'm like baffled, and I start crying. 5th grade. And then I'm just told, hey, just chill. It's fine. Here, you're going to make a new character. And I opened the 3rd edition book and I saw Krusk, the half-orc barbarian. I was like, oh, that guy's dope. I want to play that guy. And I got over it like that. Yeah.
You were in 5th grade.
I was in 5th grade. I was in 5th grade. Yeah. I was a little kid.
These people are adults.
Exactly.
They're adults and they can't handle it.
Yeah, it's very odd.
I definitely think Critical Role was a huge part of that, but I think at the end of the day, it goes back way further than that. Probably to like around 2nd edition days, because that's when they started promoting all the named characters like Twist and like all that stuff, and that's when like the games came out, like Baldur's Gate, and people wanted to like emulate that epic flavor, and they wanted to be a guy like Twist. Like, a main character. It's basically main character syndrome at the end of the day. While the OSR is more like, yeah, you're a farm boy and maybe you'll be a hero someday. Like, it just kind of turned into like, no, I don't want to be a farm boy. I want to be fucking, Groknar, the son of Ragnarok, the half god of fucking, murder. And like, stuff like that. And that's where you get like the whole thing where they write like 6-page backgrounds and like all that stuff. And I'll admit, I'm from those days. I'm from the 90s, like the 2nd edition, 3rd edition days. I like that stuff too, but I try to temper it a little bit with like, a more OSR mindset. I try to find like a healthy balance rather than, because I also don't enjoy the whole, like, yeah, you're just a farm boy and some rat kills you. And yeah, like, I also don't like that. But like I said, I try to find that healthy balance. And I think that balance has been lost.
It definitely has. Yeah.
What's interesting, because going back to like going over OD&D, is OD&D, each level has like a name, and for a fighter, a level 1 fighter is called a veteran still.
Yeah.
Like you're a veteran at level 1. So I don't know. I just find that interesting how like you're still super squishy, but you're considered a veteran fighter, a veteran warrior at that point as you start your adventuring career. Just an interesting thing to throw out there.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed that's been kind of a difficult thing for my players in my game right now. I think I could be wrong if they're listening to this. I could be wrong. This is an assumption that they got so used to being almost superhero-like in 5e really early that when they get into DCC with the level 0 funnel and it's a bloodbath. We already had a TPK, but I'm actually surprisingly that TPK led to an awesome part of the game that we didn't see coming at all, and now we're having way more fun after everyone died. And that it was So, but one thing I noticed is that they've had somewhat of a difficult time adjusting to that.
Yeah, when I did my OSR game, I had the players run into bandits. I've mentioned this before. I had the players run into bandits first, as human bandits, as their first encounter. Human bandits that were only interested in robbing them. And they ran into 9 bandits, and there was only 3 of them, and they're like, we could take them. Like, guys, this isn't 5e. You're going to get... You're about to get curb stomped.
Maybe you should just listen to them.
Yeah. So, but these I made it so that these bandits were not interested in murdering, because I knew this would happen. I knew that, like, the first encounter, these guys are so used to 5e, they're going to just go in and they're going to try and be the hero right from the start, and they're not going to be smart. They're going to play the 5e way in OSR. That's a surefire way to get your character killed. So I was like, I need to have them face like someone that's not necessarily interested in killing them, like a wolf or a bear that's just like, I'm going to eat you. Like, as soon as you go down, I'm going to eat you. Like, bandits just want to rob you. So that was their first little foray into it, where they had to like surrender to the bandits and get robbed like a bunch of their stuff. And like, they learned their lesson, because they didn't die, but they got their stuff robbed, all their gold and some weapons and some good stuff that they had acquired already. And they learned their lesson, and they were much smarter from then on out. I almost TPK'd them. Came close last session with 2 trolls. They did the same thing. We could take them, and they couldn't take them.
Yeah. 2 trolls and any sort of OSR rule set that's pretty difficult. It's gonna hurt.
They almost died. No one there. There are a couple of the guys, because they're like level 4 and 5 now, because we've been playing for a while now at this point. And so a couple of the guys almost got down to 0. They weren't quite there yet, and they even said, like, we should have ran away when we had the chance.
I don't think that that TPK that I just spoke of, I don't know how much of it was my fault with not conveying. Maybe I wasn't clear about, like, hey, this is a bad situation, maybe you should go. Because they were level 3 in DCC, and a vampire showed up, and it was gonna be a bad day. And I had the vampire kill some creatures around them. So like, hey, and it was really fast. Like, hey, this is happening. This is really quick. And they just kept trying, and then they kept trying till they were all dead. I was like, oh man, did I miss something here? Like, I don't know what happened, but
like the way I see it is, I'm not killing characters; their decisions are killing them.
Yeah,
and I'm not there to protect the player character. I can't sit there and protect, like, if I protect you from your bad decisions, then you're not going to have fun. Like, you think that me protecting, like, some players think that the DM or the GM protecting them from their bad decisions will be fun, and then they wonder why their campaigns end after 6 sessions. So my players, like, I roll in the open. I don't roll behind a screen. I roll in the open as often as I can, unless the rules specify otherwise explicitly that this must be a secret role. A roll. But otherwise, I roll in the open, attack rolls, all that kind of stuff. And so I roll a d20 and I hit with an attack, and I'm not going to fudge it and be like in front of them, oh, that didn't hit. Like, John, it clearly hit. I saw you roll that. I saw you roll that 17. You can't, now you're cheating to keep me alive. So
I used to fudge my dice a lot because of that, and decided don't do that anymore, and the games are much more enjoyable, I think. They feel the players, I think, get more enjoyment out of their own accomplishments because literally the dice are against them. So
yeah. What's up, Raven? It's all good. Someone else had a question here. They were talking about something I'm interested in. Basic Expert, why not? Why do many people not talk about Lion and Dragon? Do you think it's too niche, or do you think it's needs more sharing? I think Lion and Dragon is a good game for like low magic. I think partly people don't like it because they don't like Pundit. I think that's part of it.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
You know, he's a personality, and those that are even remotely sympathetic to a particular type of player inside are not going to probably like him, and so therefore may not purchase his game. But
yeah,
I think Lion and Dragon's great. I would love to run a Lion and Dragon game. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I same. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a cool take. The whole low fantasy, historical fantasy thing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think it's a solid game. I have Sword and Caravan too. I'd love to do like a Silk Road campaign based on that. That'd be awesome. It'd be a lot of fun.
That I like to put a lot of historical influences in my games, specifically with the humans, with the human groups in my campaign setting. And I never even thought about putting in social class in my game. And I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense with, what I was trying to get at, and having that, because I took that and implemented that into my DCC game. And just having that, it's made the encounters between nobility and my players a lot easier for them to understand, actually.
Yeah.
So the RP interactions make sense, because sometimes a player character will do something. It's like, oh, maybe would your character do that growing up in this area? Like, I don't know. Like, do I interject? But like, no, I don't. I'll let you make your mistakes.
Yeah.
So.
I need to pick up Lion and Dragon and Sword and Caravan because I want to do a similar thing with like historical like Dutch mythology for an OSR game. So I think like Pandit is like a historian, so I think just copying him would probably do me well. But yeah, I haven't bought them yet, but I definitely plan to.
Well, and actually, Lion and Dragon is a good game too because it is low magic, but it has only ascending AC. So I know that is a lot easier for a lot of modern players. They see descending AC and they like freak out, even though I don't think it's that hard or that bad. I can teach you to use Thaco or an attack matrix in like 2 seconds. But I get it. It's different and it's weird and it seems this old mystical thing. And so his game does away with that. So that's good.
Yeah.
And someone else here, Redshift, says he likes the random progression, and I think that's another cool part of Lion and Dragon is that the modern gamer has this mentality of like, I'm going to build something.
Yep.
And they start at level 1 and they're like, I know exactly what. I think that's partly why they don't like their character dying too, because they're like, I know exactly what I'm going to be at level 10 or level 15. I know exactly what I'm shooting for and the decisions that I need to make in 5e or Pathfinder or whatever it is to make that character happen. And what the party needs, actually be damned, because I have this vision for what my character is going to be. And so Lion and Dragon gets rid of that entirely by when you progress, you roll on a table. And a lot of his games do this. You roll on a table and you get like random benefits that you cannot build. You cannot build a character around that. Like you just got to role play with what you're given. So. Yeah,
optimization. I think that's really been. It's been hard for me to get that. I don't want to say programming, but that mentality out of how I play games. Because that's what I grew up with. Because I've grown up in video games. I mean, that's what you do in RPG games. You optimize the crap out of your character because you want to you want to be the best in the game, so you
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's great for a lot of maybe specifically D&D, but for tabletop RPGs and like the purpose of the game, I think, and that you're trying to you're doing emergent storytelling at the end of the day, I think. And yeah.
Well, at the same time, so good.
No, you go ahead.
No, I mean, at the same time, I do like having a little bit of control over my character, because I usually go into a game with like having a certain concept in mind. If I'm the grizzled woke, I don't suddenly just want to end up with a skill that goes completely against like, you know, what my mental image of the character is. So maybe that's like the sparkled role in me. I don't know, but it's like
no. I mean, I'm still like to do builds a little bit in my games, and I mean that's trying to balance that, I think is difficult.
It's a hard balance.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's because the OSR mentality, and I talked about this on the Modern Myth channel in the interview. It's a different approach to playing your character in a lot of ways. Like I think the modern 5e player, for instance, approaches their character sheet and they see their sheet and they're like, this is what my character can and can't do. Whereas like reading like OD&D, for example, you know, there's no, in the original Little Black Books, there's no thief class. You only have fighter, cleric, and magic user. That's it.
Yeah.
Those are the only three you have. There's no thief class. And so there was this expectation, I think, that there's player skill and there's character skill. And those are like two separate things. And you got to learn how to use both of those things in order to be a good player and to have your character survive. And I think that's partly why the game was so deadly early on, because in these older editions, because that was a way to teach you how to play and make good choices. So like, I lost this level 1 guy. Okay, I'll make a new one. And I'm not going to make that mistake again. I learned that I need to like listen at doors, or like, you know, I bet if we had put a spike in the door or something, that I would still be alive at this point.
Yeah.
You know, and whereas like, and I mentioned this before, where like there's modern players, for better or worse, they look at their sheet and they're like, well, someone else better do something because I don't have any skills or any bonuses that are applicable to the situation. Whereas like an old school mentality is they're not necessarily concerned with that all the time. So.
Yeah, I've been getting out of that look at your character sheet, where are the answers mentality. That's been something I've been trying to encourage my players to do. Like for instance, like, you know, I think I'll sing DCC's praise some more. I think it's a difficult thing to balance, and it's also an awesome thing. And they don't really have skills, like a list of skills.
Yeah.
And because, you know, I've been trying to have my players, when I want to look around and find something. Can I roll investigation? I've been saying, okay, well, how are you looking around? Like, what are you doing? Are you just literally just standing there and, you know, just scanning the room? You know, if you're doing that, you're not going to find anything. Like, how are you looking? And I've been doing that instead of having them roll. And it's actually, I don't know, it's been more enjoyable that way, I find, because just relying on a roll sometimes is kind of boring, you know.
Well, speaking of rolls, people are still talking about fucko in the chat, and my issue with that is it's not so much that it's difficult. Like, I understand how it works. I don't know, it's just like a weird autistic nitpick. Like, if a system like, either pick roll over or pick roll under, and don't try to mix them. Like if 90% of the system is roll over and then like this one thing is roll under, like, I don't know, that just bothers me. There's fucking just make it all streamlined, you know. That's just some weird Gygaxism. It's like, fuck off.
Part of it is also though, like, does your DM tell you the armor class of the things you're fighting? If your DM tells you the armor class of the things you're fighting, descending AC makes a lot more sense, and it's easier to implement, because then it's just you roll your D20, you add your modifiers, and then you add the monster's AC to the roll, and if it beats 19 or 20, whatever it is, AC 0, then you hit. So it's still all addition. But some DMs don't want to tell you what the AC is, which I get. I generally don't do that either. I'll describe it like, oh, the goblin's wearing chainmail or something. And if you know what the AC bonus is for chainmail, you can probably figure it out. But, you know,
I have an interesting thought, I guess, for character progression and trying to find a way to replace the idea of I want to build my character. What if instead of like, for instance, like this is something I've been doing in my games. If a wizard or a cleric want a new spell, they need to actually try to go figure out how to find the spell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I've been having my wizards. If you want to learn a new spell, you need to go meet a teacher or go scour through a library, an ancient library, to find it. And then for clerics, it's you need to basically kind of go on a quest to go get a new miracle or prayer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made getting those things more enjoyable. I don't know. That's what I've found.
And yeah, you can do the same thing with fighters. Like they have to find a trainer that will teach them this awesome technique that they then can use to, improve their fighting style. And system mechanics wise, it just gives them a +1 or whatever. But flavor wise, it's like, yeah, now I know this flourish from like this fencing style.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Later, Redcaps. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I like that too. That's probably why I like the rule cyclopedia with weapon mastery.
Yeah.
I use weapon mastery in my game, and that forces players to go and search out for a master in whatever weapon they want to improve in, and they get these special bonuses, almost like feats. It's like proto feats, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool because it forces them to train. It costs money. There's no guarantee that they're going to learn the skill that time. They might end up wasting the gold that they spend because they are not being a studious student and doing a good job.
You know what's crazy too is all the people who are kind of in this, like, I don't know what to call them, the critical role sphere of D&D, the ones who are wanting these big epic stories. I think you get those big epic stories from having the players drive the story and that emergent storytelling. If your character wants to learn a new spell, well, go seek out the master, the ivory tower or whatever, or the elephant tower, whatever. That sounds way more interesting. And that sounds like that will create the stories that they're looking for instead of just, you lay out the story track like you're writing a novel, which I think is what a lot of players and DMs do.
I think it also kind of cuts down on the age-old DM problem where you have like a story planned and then the players do something to completely ruin what you have planned and you're just scrambling to figure out how to save it or do something to to basically let them do the new thing that they want to do. If it's all emergent, it's just as emergent for you as it is for them because you're just rolling on random tables and blah, blah, blah. So, both of you, the players and the DM are just kind of going on this ride and seeing where it goes rather than just one person having all their fucking ideas ruined. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
See,
go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was going to put a comment up, but finish your thought. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just, these players that are just so caught up in 5e and the culture that has currently inhabited the game. If they just for a second looked outside of 5e and found how other game systems can create those stories, but it's not in the way they're used to, I think they would find a lot more enjoyment in the game.
Well, the problem is they attach politics and ideology to it.
Sadly,
so they don't want to look at the OSR because to them the OSR is a bunch of old grognard racists and sexists and colonialists and people that think that you should orcs are all evil and well you can't do that because orcs are black people. So they don't even want to bother with that. So they just they just put the blinders on and
Yeah. Can you believe that the OSR, some of those games have race as class?
Yeah.
Can you believe
that? I know.
But meanwhile, if they had an open mind and they looked at it, they would find a ton of fucking useful tools that they could apply even to 5e games to improve them. So
yeah. That racist class, I didn't know how, originally I wasn't a big fan of it, but I'm becoming more convinced that it actually solves the problem that they claim for race, in that one, it gets rid of race's class gets rid of attributes, being assigned to by race.
Mhm.
Playing it that way, and it also makes the race actually feel like really unique from a human. Currently in 5e, race is just what are you going to go shopping for? What customizations do you want to be? Do you want to be a freaking elf with wings? Like, I think that's a thing you can do. And it's like, that's like so weird to me. Like, I can't imagine what Adventures League is like right now. I can't imagine. DM's like, okay, so we got a tabaxi, a genie thing. Oh my god, which subtype of elf are you? And y'all are all in a tavern. Oh my gosh, how do I explain this? Like, how do
Race's class acts as a good balancing thing too, because what a lot of modern gamers don't understand is, in the context of old school D&D games, like infravision, what it used to be, dark vision now. Infravision or dark vision, being able to detect, like elves in old school they're immune to being paralyzed from ghouls, for instance.
That's pretty good for an old school game. Like,
you're powerful.
Those features, those are really, like, I've noticed the importance of darkness in old school games and how reliant people are with light sources, and not having that vision bonus from being an elf, like, that gives you a huge disadvantage.
In 5e, I think there's more races with dark vision than races without. Like, I've run games where, like, if a player doesn't have dark vision, he's the odd man out. It's like, oh, you don't have dark vision? Oh, so, I guess we'll light a torch then.
What a freaking weirdo. We all see the dark.
Well, it's made darkness be less scary in a game.
Yeah, it's just a hassle. It's like, oh my god, did you just cast light? It's a cantrip.
It's made it more confusing too, because it's like, well, you still see dim light. So, well, how do I fucking figure out what dim light is in this situation?
Yeah, at that point with 5e, I was like, I just didn't even really bother with light.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
it's like you have dark vision. Okay, you just fucking perfectly see up until this distance. Okay, whatever.
Well, and honestly, that's why I've kind of been more partial rating older games to infravision as opposed to dark vision, because infravision is like heat vision, and so things like torches and stuff like that like really jack up infravision, and you're able to sort of hide creatures. Even if a character has infravision, if they're behind a rock, or you put a light source near the creature, or you're as a DM, you can still be creative in hiding creatures in the dungeon with a character that has infravision still, as opposed to dark vision. So
got attacking my hand.
I get why they changed it though.
I'm gonna go get some water. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
sure. I'm going to answer a question real quick from Chris here. He's it's more about Lion and Dragon. Do you think that's what holds back Lion and Dragon? I mentioned it to one person on MeWe and was called a bigot and didn't know I was a bad person for liking history. Again, I think it's because of Pundit. People don't like Pundit, and therefore they don't like his games. Even though for how political Pundit is, there's really no politics in his game, in his games or his products. Like you're hard pressed to find like a political message in his content, in his products that he sells.
Yeah,
like sure he gets a little vitriolic maybe on this channel and on Twitter, but like he does a really good job of doing what the other side is incapable of doing, which is keeping that stuff out of his games.
Yeah.
So, but I think that they assume because they put political messaging in their games that Pundit must be doing it in his, because I guarantee that the people that called you a bigot for liking Lion and Dragon have never actually looked at Lion and Dragon and seen what's in it.
Yeah.
They've never read it. So I think I think it comes down to Pundit as a personality. So
also Malaki says you're forgetting something. Dark vision is not in color. Yeah, that's true.
That's true too,
they don't really give any mechanical consequence to that though. They don't mention like, they don't give you any examples anyway of like how that would like influence like something. So you have to come up with it yourself, and then your players might complain because just like, no, I should be seeing this. It's like, no, you can't, because you're seeing in black and white and blah blah blah. And this is a whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris here says my players in Osric now use infravision and always have to put the races up towards the front, so torches, etc. I'm assuming don't mess with the infravision, because yes, if the torches are in front of them or near them, the infravision is wasted. Like it just that torch is gonna like block out all infravision capabilities of that character. So
Well, I would also rule it like makes you unable to like see certain details, so like searching for stuff might be harder, or like using your perception might be harder. Like you're not gonna be able to read like the fine letters on like a scroll that you found, because you're literally just fucking having predator vision, and
yeah,
he's not gonna read somebody's penmanship.
Yeah, hold on, let me do this scholarly thing. Let me translate. Yeah.
GM Stillhaven says, hot take, at RPG Pundit makes great stuff. That's not a hot take here. I like everything he's made so far. So I have Invisible College. So
how is that? I haven't checked that out yet.
It's cool. Good. Brendan on our server, he wants to run a game eventually, I think, of Invisible College. So I'm waiting for him to do that. I like it. It's a cool modern take with OSR rules, and that's not dungeon crawling. It definitely shows that you can do a lot with those OSR rules that you don't think that you originally could do before.
Oh my, yeah, dude, it's what I think what's crazy about the OSR mindset is how malleable it is to just about any type of setting or any really type of idea that you wanted to get across with a game. And it's also just consistently it makes some pretty good games too. Like if you just follow that formula, you can make a really fun game.
I'm currently working on an OSR Cyberpunk game, so yeah, you can just do all sorts of shit with it.
Yeah, I mean, I did Atomic Punk. Like, it's so easily hackable, and that's what makes it so cool. Like you can, again, reading original D&D, Gygax even says in the beginning, like you could start introducing sci-fi stuff into this if you wanted to. Like it'll totally accept it. And this is in 74, so he was already encouraging that sort of hacking of the rules even then. So
yeah. I felt like 5e in the beginning was pretty hackable and pretty malleable, because I made a bunch of homebrew races and classes, and it was pretty easy to do. But towards the end of this run, it's like frustrating to even homebrew something, because it's so bloated. It feels like the edition right now.
My experience as an actual person who creates for 5e and have written like a whole book for it now, if you take like things separately, it's pretty easy. If you want to write a subclass, it's easy. If you want to write a race, it's easy. If you want to add like some new weapons, it's easy. But once you store everything together, it becomes so complex, and you're constantly like trying to like clarify things and like make sure that this does this and this does that, and that's when you get advantage, and that's when you get disadvantage. But if that happens, then that might break this that I wrote, and you're basically just going in constantly and having to fucking add things, and it gets really like you said, it gets really bloated. I managed to do it somehow, but yeah.
Here's a question for you, MagicUser. Chris Lundgren says, MagicUser, do you think more people will move over to OSR? And one of them, Dungeon Crawl Classics, I think more players are leaving due to 5.5 having to buy all new books in 2024, assuming with one D&D here.
I think what's going to happen is I think a lot of people are going to move once one D&D comes out. It's going to be a bunch of people staying in 5e because people are making content for 5e like crazy. And I don't think that unless Wizards finds a way to stop that, which they might, I don't think that's going to stop. And I think a lot of people are probably going to move to Pathfinder. Pathfinder 2nd edition. A lot of people have been talking about that a lot more. It's not really my cup of tea, if I'm going to be quite honest. But it does seem to be a little more appealing than 5e right now. And then I think there will be a lot of people who move to OSR. I think it's all going to splinter to a bunch of different stuff.
My what's the word? Fucking there's a word for it. My brain's failing right now. Well, I think it's basically just going to be it's going to create 5e grognards. So it's going to be the people that like the 2014 5e. I call it the 05R. Yeah, like you said, there's still a lot of third-party people that make content for the 2014 5e. And I think, especially if the rumor is true that 1D&D is not going to have an OGL, I think those people will just benefit from that because they're just going to keep making the 2014 stuff, and you'll still have content for days. Basically, you don't really have to abandon the system at all. And there's already people complaining on all sorts of forums on Reddit about 1D&D. They don't want to even touch it. So yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, who would have thought calling it 1D&D that was gonna make it really exciting for people?
I was offended by that because I thought it was an attempt to get rid of to take over the OD&D moniker, because that's for 1974 D&D. That's not for your 2024
think about
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
74, 24? Fuck. You've unraveled the conspiracy now.
That's probably part of it. I would not put it past them. They think that they're better than anything that's come before them. So 100%.
I know. I think it's gonna. I could be, totally wrong on this, but I think Wizards is really overestimating how popular it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I think D&D is still pretty. I said in my video recently. I think it's still a fairly niche hobby, and I think they're putting a lot of eggs in this basket for 1D&D, and I don't think it's gonna perform well.
They're putting the eggs in the Critical Role fan basket, and then the COVID, when the COVID hit, people were stuck at home, and that's when 5e and tabletop games in general had a big resurgence. But now that stuff is opened up again, a lot of those people are leaving again. So, but the problem with Wizards of the Coast is they started catering towards these new fans while completely shitting on the old fans. So they're gonna eventually just lose both. So
yeah.
Gotta say thank you to Hungar. You're the first YouTube joiner person. So
thank you. Nice, cool.
If you want to join my Guilded server, let me know. The link should be in the video description.
Yeah,
and you get a special little Guilded role, and you get access to certain parts, and you get some perks and stuff. So
what a freaking name, dude!
We won't bully you quite as much.
It's awesome. Hungar the Starvarian.
And I agree with all of that. I think 1D&D is an attempt to sort of, I've called it the EA-ification of the hobby. It's an attempt to try and monetize players. They've sort of done that with D&D Beyond, because now you have players that pay for D&D Beyond that cannot make characters without that app, without using it. They don't know how to make a character.
I know, it's ridiculous.
On a character sheet.
Yeah.
That I didn't realize that was a thing, and then I encountered a few people where that's the case, and I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know how to make? How long have you been playing this game? You don't know how to make a character? It's to me, that's a rite of passage for learning how to play the game. Is you know how the rules are, and you can make your character, and you don't know how to do that. Are we playing the same game? What do you do?
Well, it's also even if you don't know it, just grab the player handbook and just follow the steps. It's not that hard. It's not like it's high Gygaxian. It's literally just step by step.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's an attempt to monetize players, because for the life of this hobby, it's been the referees and the game masters and the dungeon masters that have put forth the lion's share of money towards this hobby. They always are the ones that buy the most books, the most game aids, all of that stuff. And I think WotC's well, I mean, this is great. We're making good money off of this particular person that is the most dedicated person at the table, who spends the most money, but let's take a dump on that person and try and sucker some of the players that are on the table, because, we're selling to one of 6 people at the table, let's say. We need to monetize those other 5 people. And I think 1D one D&Ds will be an attempt to do that because they're obviously going to nickel and dime you for customizing your VTT mini.
Absolutely, yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. So that will be. I think a lot of people are smart enough to sort of, because we play video games and we see what EA and a lot of like Activision and Blizzard and what a lot of these companies do, and we're like, we see your game, WotC. Like, this is nothing new to us. We've seen it on our console and PC games. Like, you're doing it here.
There's literally going to be there's literally going to be microtransactions. This is going to like take some stuff from DM's Guild. It's like, oh, you can buy this sub class or this race for like 99 cents or whatever. Plus, my prediction is going to be they're going to have like some sort of moderation system where if you're a DM and you have evil orcs in your game, some player can complain to fucking to Wizards of the Coast, and you just literally get banned from the platform because you dare to be racist or something. I am betting you that something like that is going to happen.
Guys, what happened? This is supposed to be just a game.
We didn't gatekeep hard enough.
Yeah, I guess not. Man, what is going on? I got HR departments in my D&D game. No,
I mean, stuff like that's already happening on Twitter. Kind of like I've mentioned this before, but there was that girl who played like a Vistani, and the DM said her character couldn't go into this village because they didn't trust Vistanis, and she fucking cancelled him on Twitter. And like thousands of people were like out for his blood. So like, the fact that that's gonna be like that's gonna become like an actual like moderated thing on 1D&D, like that's not that far fetched to me.
Yeah, definitely this one.
Shauner says all the Twitter weirdos will be on 1D&D. So yeah, there'll be like 5 players playing it. So
yeah, definitely.
Because those 5 players have like 100 accounts because they're unemployed and they just spend all their time on Twitter.
Yeah. Those new players who get like, the ones that they're looking for like wheelchair accessibility and stuff. I don't get that. I don't understand. And what else do they do? Like, having warning labels. Like, it's just, it's so confusing.
I understand it in the way that like I realize that people have different tastes, and somebody might want to do something that I think is silly, and more power to them. But my problem is that they tie like morality and stuff to it.
That's the thing, yeah.
To the point where like, no, I think that's silly. You're basically just like the worst person ever, like to them, and they fucking will like go after you on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, and I'm literally disabled. I'm like 100% like I'm legally disabled. So yeah. But even when I say like I think that shit is silly, they will cancel me. So yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's more of like a virtue signal. It's more like, look at what we put into our books. Can we get claps, please?
Yeah.
Please clap.
Yeah, please clap. Please. Please don't buy the book, just clap.
Yeah.
But let's see, there was a previous comment here that was a good one, and I wanted to see if I could find it. There's another one by Chris. He's asking good questions. And I thought it'd be a fun one. And I can't find it now. I think it was if Well, if it was if Gary was alive today, what would be his favorite OSR game, do you think?
Simple Modernity.
Isn't that written by some crazy Dutch guy?
Yeah. I think so, yeah. We read it in the Gygaxian Stones. That's what he said.
Someone had, I think Malachi had said it'd be probably Castles and Crusades because he did consult on that. He did bring up a good point.
But some people claim that's not even OSR, so
it's OSR enough. It's at least OSR adjacent.
adjacent.
I could see that, yeah. No.
It's I don't know. It has that old school feel at least when you play it. So
also for future reference, you can like there's a little star on the things. You can like basically favorite messages that you want to like get back to.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Yeah. Me too. I never do it either, but I just I figure I should mention that.
Maliki, crazy. TBE is being nice. Oh, I'm always nice. When am I not?
Yeah,
nice?
He's like one of the nicest guys I know. Fuck.
Let's see. Do you think Gary Gygax would be upset on Ozark without Gygaxianism? I don't know, because Gary didn't even run AD&D rules as written.
No.
You know, like he didn't even by before he died, Gary was still running OD, like homebrewed OD&D. So I don't know. I mean, Osric was I think around. When did Osric come out? Because it might have been around when Gary was alive, even. Let's see. 2006. When did Gary die? I think it was around that time.
I think so.
2013
Yeah.
or 28.
2008. So he was alive when
2008.
Osric.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Gary was alive when Osric came out. So he probably did have an opinion on it. I don't know if he ever said anything about it, but he did work for Castles and Crusades though. So that seemed to be, in my opinion, is Castles and Crusades is like the modern edition of D&D that 5e wishes it was.
That's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Because I really do think early 5e was trying to capture that a little bit, and I think it was successful. And I think 5e has it's got one of my favorite books, and that's the Saltmarsh, the Ghost of Saltmarsh. I don't know if y'all ever saw that book.
Yeah, I have that. Yeah.
My favorite D&D adventure ever, it was the first one I ever played through, was The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. So I got super excited when it came out. But then all of the random tables that they have in Saltmarsh for the 5e book was great. And I used them all the time. They're freaking awesome. Great book. And then the alt cover. Oh my God, the alt cover for that book, because I think 5e art mostly sucks. I want to be quite honest.
Yeah.
The alt cover for The Sinister Secret for the Ghost of Saltmarsh was so cool. That big Sahuagin like trying to grab at you. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that adventure. It's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Also, Tomb of Annihilation is awesome. Like, like early 5e, like you said, that's some good stuff. Like, I think if you just run like pure like DM, the Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Guide, and maybe like +1, which is I think the official suggestion, I think you can still have like a great game. It's just like all the other shit that they and all the player expectations.
Yeah. I think I've said it before. Oftentimes my gripe with 5e is it's an extensive list with the system itself, but it's purely system based for the most part. Most of my gripes though are with the people that play 5e. So
yeah,
like interacting with them, like when I've played with strangers, it's never been a good time. And just talking to people that play that game, and it's like I'm speaking a different language. It's like we're not even in the same hobby. Most time, I know like people like you, Vic, are different, but I don't know. I wish I knew statistically, for instance, how many people think like you and play 5e like you, as opposed to what we see on Twitter. I have a feeling Twitter's a minority, but
I hope even my own players, and I have like multiple players in my group who like are big Critical Role fans. They like stay up to watch that shit. Like there's like a 20-year-old Dutch girl that's like one of my players. She like literally stays up like late at night to just watch Critical Role. And she's a pretty old school player when it actually gets down to like, the nitty gritty. Like she doesn't do anything crazy. She doesn't do any spark control stuff. She doesn't try to cancel me for like, like evil orcs and stuff like that. She fucking relishes that stuff. She fucking leans into that stuff. So I think Twitter is just like you said, is a minority.
I hope.
Yeah.
Twitter's not real life, so
but there isn't. Yeah.
There are like OSR people and like people in general that will blame the system on the players, and I think like that's a little bit unfair, because if Critical Role instead of 5e they had just done Shadowrun, I think we would have an issue with Shadowrun players now. So if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I think they picked D&D because D&D still is and always has been, as Max from Legion of Myth puts it, the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Yeah,
But
it really is.
they could have easily picked Pathfinder Second Edition, and then all the
True.
fucking annoying Sparkles ones on Twitter would be Pathfinder Second Edition.
Well,
people.
I think they started with Pathfinder, right?
Yeah.
I think they started with Pathfinder, and then I forgot. I guess when they did the live streaming, they switched. I bet the reason why they switched to 5e was because 5e was new.
Yeah,
and it was popular. It wasn't like really, the freaking monster it is today. But I remember in the early days of 5e, like it was a lot of excitement going on in the beginning.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I had fun playing 5e, no doubt, but I think from the DM facing side, I got tired of
Yes.
I said it on Modern Myths interview with me is that it's a deceptively crunchy game too. You read the 5e books and you're like, oh yeah, this is an easy game. This seems like the most easy and accessible version of D&D that's ever existed. And then you run it and you're like, oh, I'm keeping track of a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things I got to worry about and sort of meta stuff I have to worry about to keep the players engaged. Whereas like the simplicity of the OSR for me is just, maybe it's because I'm lazy. I don't know. As I've gotten older, I sort of been attracted to more easier to run games. But it's just, I like just sitting down and being like, all right, let's see what happens today. As opposed to keeping track of all the things I had to keep track of in 5e. Because some of the monsters have just all these multiple abilities and layer actions, and they can
most
exist.
Of them suck. Most of them are really poorly designed, and they're like not tuned well at all. They're like,
with the action economy, like you can have like one big boss monster, and then players will just mob them and just like beat the shit out of them. You got to have like all these minions and all these side stuff. That's why combat takes so long, oftentimes, because you have to throw in like 20 fucking monsters just to like challenge like a party of 4 or 5 players. Meanwhile, like in OSR, you can literally have like one fucking creature that will like TPK you like a whole party. So yeah.
I think to your point with crunchiness, I came from 3rd edition, and there's a special place in my heart for 3rd edition and 3.5. Maybe I think it was part of it was the aesthetic, and that's also the edition I grew up playing. I thought I love the 3rd edition artwork. Oh my gosh, most of the artwork for 3rd edition was so cool. It was so metal. It was so what 5e is not. Like yeah, like I mean, like I have that stupid The Book of Vile Darkness, the one with the pencil wording on it, and they would never make that on 5e, and that wasn't that long ago either.
No, that was like early 2000s.
And if 3E has some of the cool, like I thought the Dragonlance. I mean, nothing beats 2nd edition Dragonlance, but I'm a big Dragonlance fan, and I thought the 3rd edition Dragonlance books were pretty good. And 3E had some pretty good supplement books. They're really unique, I thought, but it did. Of course, it's freaking crunchy as heck. But I found the crunchiness of 3E more enjoyable than 5E's. I found.
Yeah, maybe it's because like it served a purpose to a degree, I guess. I feel like some of the crunch in 5e just it's there to serve it's there to link to something else, but it just is like this circular thing and it doesn't really advance the game in any way. I have nothing personally against crunch. It's just generally not my thing. More often than not, I generally like simpler games, but because I don't want stuff to get in the way of playing, and what do we have to look up this rule, and I don't like that kind of stuff. That can kill like immersion a little bit, in my opinion. And I don't like doing the GM fiat where I'll make a ruling now. I get it; it's the easiest solution to do, but like I'll make a ruling now, and then we'll go back and look up the rule later, and this is what it's going to be going forward. Sure, that works, but I'd rather just know the rules and be just have a mastery of the system as soon as possible. And so if I feel like it takes like 10 read-throughs of a book and tons of bookmarks in it to like master a system, I'm probably not interested, but that's just my personal taste.
It's funny. Like there's this part of me that still likes that idea. Like, gosh, of the 3.5 wizard. Like I mean, there's a reason why MagicUser is my username. I almost always pick a spellcaster of sorts in any game I play. I don't know why. It's just what I gravitate. They're fun to play for me. I think because I feel like I can make a lot of goals as that character. There's a lot. I can do a lot of moving things. But the 3.5 was so much. I needed so many books, and it felt satisfying for some weird reason for me. So that's more nostalgic for me, I think.
I'm having like this weird like epiphany, like this thought. I don't know. Like I think like because in 3.5 and Pathfinder First Edition, which is basically 3.7 or whatever you want to call it, like there's that same like level of like characters are like superheroes and like all that stuff that there is in 5th edition, but it feels more earned. Because there's like all these little things that you have to put together. You have to like build your character like in all these like different ways to get to that level. And like I said, it feels more earned because it's just like a big mass of things that you have to do to get like really powerful. While in 5th edition, it's like, yeah, now I have this feat and now I'm like, you know, the best guy ever and I can fucking beat the shit out of everyone. And it's like literally a single feat. Yeah. So it feels more earned in like 3.5 and Pathfinder and stuff.
It's like I love Calstaff's comment here. Yeah, that was well said.
3E was D&D as a science. AD&D was D&D as an art form. Yeah, I think that's mostly true.
Yeah,
and I think it's part of that that mentality that is different. You know, like there's no build to do. I get the love of doing builds and stuff because I play video games too. Like you want to min max your character as much as possible.
Yeah,
in that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just you're going for a different vibe and a different experience. I think.
Yeah, you definitely are. Yeah,
from the old editions to the WotC editions.
And
so, oh no, what I was trying to say, like I'm kind of thinking on board. It's like okay, to have like an awesome character in 3.5, you had to get like 5 feats. And then after those 5 feats, you were like fucking amazing. And then 5e just boils that down to like 1 feat. So, like I said, it just feels like way less earned.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also 3e, the monsters were heavy hitters too. Like it was they were tough. They had some ridiculous stats. And compared to 5e, you look at I think the 3e Death Knight compared to the 5e Death Knight. The 5e Death Knight is just sad. Yeah. Like, this is a Death Knight? What? That's all I could do? They even have Lord Soth as the freaking image.
3rd edition still literally had stuff like, a wave touches you and now you lost like 3 points of fucking constitution, stuff like that. In 5e, it's like, you lose a little bit of health until like you take a long rest. It's like it's
so afraid of challenging players, of making things scary. I mean, even in OSR though, you get touched by a wraith and you lose levels. It's not just
you lose levels. Yeah, that's pretty freaking hardcore.
Yeah,
I think that AD&D as an art form was perfect because when I think of when I'm playing the version of D&D I'm playing now, I'm thinking my players are in a Robert E. Howard story right now through what styles that they're playing, and that is definitely a different type of play style. It really is. It's really fun. I'm really liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, my players are kind of doing the same thing. Like, it was funny when we started our campaign, they didn't even have backstories. Like, we totally avoided that because they were totally kind of aware of, these guys might not die, so I'm not going to even waste time writing like a paragraph about what my guy is. But all of us kind of have that mentality of levels like 1 through 4, 1 through 3 are kind of your backstory. And then once you get to level 4 or 5, then you're the hero and all the stuff you did. For them, in this case, was like outing a village elder for selling people to orcs as slaves, and those slaves being sacrificed to orcish gods. That was like their backstory per se. So that's been kind of a lot of fun. But it's definitely like I don't know. I'm not by this point in my 5e games, I was always starting to get a little bit of burnout. Yeah. I was always ready to just be like, I'm ready to start something new or play a different game. And I don't necessarily feel that at this point in my current campaign, with OSR games as I did in 5e and even 4e, because when I was running 4e, it was similar. So I don't know.
As an artist, how do you feel? What's your opinion on 5e art?
It's pretty bad. It started good. It started okay. You look at the 2014 books, and there's some good art in those books, but that's because they had guys like Ralph Horsley and some other big name artists that were on there, and I don't think they're using those guys anymore. No. They may be having them do. I think they still have like Ralph doing Magic cards, but he's not doing D&D stuff. I think WotC, in regards to D&D, the reason why it sucks is they went the Marvel route of trying to hire people like Tumblr artists, you know. And a lot of the actual good artists are not doing art for D&D anymore. So it's
so
the Tumblr artists. Yeah, you know,
so cartoony.
I always show this image of I can find it here. Let me see.
Is it
of like a Revenant.
Oh.
And it's
and Chris, the freaking Larry Elmore art. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Even third edition, I still love browsing through my 3.5 monster manual. I browsed to it so much that it fell apart. But like the art in that is like amazing, like everything.
So D&D somehow went from this. This is from the Fiend Folio.
Yeah, freaking awesome looking. Like, oh my god,
yeah, it's sick. And then
so
it goes,
evocative.
It goes from that to like this.
Oh,
like, what the hell is this?
It's not even the same game.
Like, that's not even the worst example.
But that's just the best I could find. You know, like
it looks like Hearthstone.
It goes from you went from this and like all of this stuff. You know, you're on Pinterest. Like this guy's getting choked. This guy's dead already. His arm's getting chopped off. They're like, oh crap, we better do what's going on. And then you go to like this person, this guy, girl, I can't tell, girl in wheelchair. Like,
like, someone needs to make a meme out of this. Like,
that's another one.
Yeah, then D&D now.
There's another Strixhaven one where it's literally just like a gay couple like dancing.
Oh yeah, that one. There it is. I see it. Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, that one's.
Yeah, they're above the with the tiefling, the blue tiefling. Yep, there we go.
It's like when I look at this art, I'm like, what are people playing? Like, what are they doing when they play D&D?
Well, to be fair, Strixhaven was like Magical College, but like they didn't even make it cool. Like they could have gone like kind of like the Harry Potter, like, you know, Hogwarts route and kind of made it like a little bit dark and gritty. There's like this mysterious like castle with all these, you know, secrets and like fucking basilisks on the loose and like all that stuff. It's like, nah, it's just basically just like a modern college with like magic and tieflings.
So yeah, I think the art is not good. There's a particular 5e piece. There's a few in the 2014 book that I think are like awesome. If I could find this one, it's like of the guy in a turban like fighting goblins, and there's like actually blood in it, and it looks pretty good. And then
I haven't seen blood in 5e art in a while. Am I just imagining that, or
no? I don't think they've put any in.
Gosh,
I can't find it.
Dang, man, this is like with second edition, not calling the demons and devils.
Oh man, I see a cropped version of it. If I know he's fighting goblins. Maybe if I put in goblins. This one. Okay. This one.
Oh yeah, that's sick.
That looks like sick. Something like out of like 1990s like heavy metal magazine or something.
Yeah, no, that's sick, dude.
And it's 2014. Like within the same edition, it's gone from this to this.
That's so crazy. Oh my god. It's not even the same game. What is going on? Because that is sick. That is like hardcore. Like I was like, I want to be that dude. Like that.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy.
You don't want to be any of these they thems.
No, I'm a hard pass. Who needs a floor cleaned? That's what I'll do in that game if I'm playing. I'll just clean the floors. Oh, a roll of that 20. Oh, I got that floor cleaned for you. There you go.
But yeah, it's just nuts for me as an artist to see it go from this to this. Like it's just
literally
crazy.
in the same edition in like a decade.
God, that's not even that long.
Like not even a decade, like 8 years.
What happened? Like what happened?
Critical Role, Sparkle Trolls, Theater Kids, I don't know. They just started leaning into that stuff, and
it's just
they basically figured like we don't need the old fans anymore. So we're gonna
they're gonna need them.
But now they've pissed us off though.
No,
So.
yeah, exactly. I haven't bought it. I was really bummed out. I'm a huge Dragonlance fan. I've got Dragonlance tattoos all over my arm, and I was really. I don't know if y'all read the new book. It's pretty good. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. But I was excited for 5e to finally release a Dragonlance. But with what I'm seeing with what's come out, and of course not incorporating Margaret Weiss or Tracy Hickman, it's like I don't even want to be a part of it. Like I'm not buying it at all. Like,
did you catch what happened with Joe Dano with that?
Oh yeah,
the artist went after him.
Yeah, it's like what the heck, man.
Yeah, he complimented the art too. He didn't have any problems.
He actually liked the art.
Yeah, what the heck, dude. When I looked at the art for it, it just didn't seem like Dragonlance. It's just like, generic fantasy setting. Okay, where's the Larry Elmore art? Like, if they wanted to really get people to buy it, they should have gone with an old school route with that Dragonlance stuff. Like, keep the 5e rules, but have the art style really evoke that awesome heroic fantasy from back in late AD&D and second edition.
I think they just let the barbarians through the door, because remember that video they did for 1D&D, and there was like that Asian girl in the beginning who said like, oh, finally, like I didn't think, she was like, I didn't think, somebody like me could play D&D, blah, blah. I saw a clip from her like own live stream once, and she's literally some like ultra woke activist who was like talking how like D&D is like colonialist and they need to tear it all down and blah blah blah. And she directly works for Wizards of the Coast for 5th edition. So yeah, like those are the kinds of people that fucking run the show now, and that just happened in like the last like let's say like I don't know 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think they got
Connie
Chung. Going back to where people are going to go after this, I think you're right, MagicUser, that WotC is overbetting on just how popular this is, because we're already seeing a decline in books. Like nobody bought Strixhaven, nobody bought Radiant Citadel. People were disappointed with Spelljammer. Didn't even have ship-to-ship combat rules.
No, what the heck was that?
Like, how lazy are you? Like, what's his name? Hankerin, Drunken and Dragons, made his own 5e like ship-to-ship combat rules to fix Spelljammer.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Dragonlance is going to be very good. It has you starting out with like a fishing competition, I think.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that's what I want to be. I want to be just like the heroes of the Lance. Let's go fishing.
I put that in my book as a joke. I have like a fishing rod item that has like a little table for like random catches you can do, and I just thought that was funny. And they made it like into a whole adventure.
Shauners' baking quests. Yeah, like Radiant Citadel had you doing like cook-offs and chasing prawns to put them in the. Like, I think none of these books have sold well. I think that people that are getting into 5e are buying the core rule books.
Yeah.
And that's what they're playing. They're not playing any of this new stuff. And obviously, I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I 100% think that once 1D&D comes out, the 2014 books are no longer going to be printed, and you're not going to be able to find them. They're not going to sell them digitally. You're not going to be able to get them physically unless you get them secondhand. and you're going to be stuck. Like if you want to play D&D and you don't want to go secondhand route, and you want to play the latest thing, it's going to be one D&D and that's it. Unless someone comes out with a 5e clone, like
I was
what
gonna
Paizo
say,
did.
like it's just gonna create a market for clones. It's just gonna be another Pathfinder situation. So
those 5e books are gonna be gold. Hold on to them.
That is if they don't fall apart. Most of mine.
That is true.
Apart.
Yeah, I've gone through like 3 PHBs. The alt covers tend to sell pretty well. I've got a few 5e books, too many that I never use.
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I really think that 2014 rule books are going to disappear pretty quick, and they're not going to stack them up.
I think so.
They will disappear. But Chris Lundgren, Dolph Lundgren, Chris Lundgren asked, what made 5th edition great when it came out compared to now, guys? Like, it was a little bit. They were still promising the more old school feel. That was actually like what they said 5th edition was gonna be. They wanted to marry like the new stuff with like a more old school feel. There wasn't as much bloat yet. There wasn't like conflicting rules and stuff like that. That's basically it. Just it wasn't like great, but it worked. It worked fine. It just
And they started out as being DM friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Too. They really did.
Supporting DMs.
Yeah, not anymore.
And I think when it was D&D Next, when they were doing the playtest packets, I mean, you can see it. Like I never looked at the playtest packets, but recently I did. I found those playtest packets from back in the day when they were playtesting 5e, and you can see it's changed from like when you look at test packet 1 and 2, and you look at playtest packet 10, it's not the same game. Like already there, you're starting to see it. But I think that those first few playtest packets got people really excited, especially older gamers that are kind of like, oh, okay, well, there's a little bit of new, but there's a lot of things that are familiar here that I understand that harken back to tradition in this game. So cool, like I'm all in on it, and that's what drew me to it, and why I ran it for so long is because that original rule set was kind of that, like, especially after coming off of 4E, which was doing an MMO with pencil and paper.
Yeah, I never really played 4E, so.
Oh yeah. Well, we're getting towards the end here too. So Vic's.
No, I was responding to Raven basically.
Oh, what did Raven say?
Well, you said if you must play 5e,
Arcanist Crown, the Oathbreaker, Troll Lord Games 5e, go third party all the way. Yeah. I think there will be clones eventually.
Definitely.
Like I said, those are going to disappear. So maybe that's something one of you could do. I don't know. Someone out here in chat. That could be your project. Is just do a clone of 5e, sell it for way cheaper than what WotC sells it for, and you'll probably be golden.
Oh yeah, totally.
Well, you could just take the SRD and just take everything from the SRD because you're just free to take it, slap on your own setting, release it as like a book, and it's basically just 5e with your like own setting attached. But people can still just use it to just fucking play 5e, just the core rules. So
yeah. All right. Well, we usually go for 2 hours. We're getting towards the end here. This is when we give. Or when I want to give people that we have on to talk about like anything they're doing on their channel or whatever it is that projects are working on. I think people should check out your channel, MagicUser. I like the content you make. You have better content quality as far as like camera and audio than like even I do. So I appreciate that. I think your channel needs more subscribers. So is there anything you got coming out video wise that you want to like whet people's appetite for, or anything you're working on that people watching might be interested in?
Yeah. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to my lovely fiance. She is the reason why my quality of my videos look so amazing. She's a video editor and a photographer, for that's her trade. So I am very lucky to have her. So she's the freaking oil that gets the gears going. Like she helps out so much. Right now we're going to be doing. I have a series on our channel that's called Table Talk. I just talk about some theory that I'm currently thinking about. I'm actually going to be talking about our next Table Talk is going to be about Elden Ring, because I can't stop playing it, and that game has really opened up my mind to how awesome exploration is in game design and how important it is. And
cool.
So we're going to be doing that. And we also do sketches. We only have one right now. We're going to be doing another sketch coming up pretty soon. And
I like this. Is that the Sparkle Troll one?
Yeah.
I love that one. I showed that to my friends and we all laughed. So yeah.
Yeah, we had so much fun making that.
I think that's actually the first video of yours that I saw. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it was fun to make, and we got another one coming up. So if y'all like that kind of stuff, it's not just D&D content. I just talk about whatever interests me, which is a lot of nerd stuff. So
cool.
Check out my channel, MagicUser. And
thanks
for having me on, guys.
Oh, no problem. You got a request from MagicUser. It says, keep sharing OSR. Do you want on Basic Fantasy, please? I'd love to see your insights on that.
I will. I want to check that out. Yeah, I do. It's on my list right now. I want to do a Warhammer video because I freaking love Warhammer. So that's going to be coming up too. So
cool. Vic, you're in the final hours of your Kickstarter, and you want to talk about that for a bit?
I'm at 58 hours to go, and I just got another pledge, so I'm at 4,466, almost at 90% funded. So hopefully I'll get that last 500 something. I'm sure I will, but you never know. You never know these days. But Modern Adventurer's Guide to Guns and Gear. It's basically just to turn your 5th edition games into a modern fantasy setting, like that movie Bright with Will Smith. Rules for guns, explosives, yada yada yada. Everyone's heard this spiel like a million times by now, but
but someone might be watching it later. You never know.
True. Just there might be some new guys in here. So yeah, it's rules for guns, explosives, including nukes. I always got to say that because people love nukes. I've got 24 new subclasses, like modern team subclasses, 2 for each core class. I've got new feats, got new backgrounds. I've got like specific magic weapons. I've got like rules for ammunition, attachments, weapon modifications, all sorts of stuff. It's like a 200+ page supplement, so you get at least some bang for your buck. And some a little bit. If you can help me fund it, so I can get all the art that I need for it, and I can finish it, next year. And that's about it, really.
Cool. I'm still working on Cowpunchers, trying to figure out OD&D. Got a video I'm probably gonna do this week for Thursday that'll be about Scarlet Heroes and solo gaming. So it's my goal is to get it for Thursday. I'm just dragging my feet with it because I feel like in a creative rut, but whatever, it happens. But other than that, nothing really new. Atomic Punk is on sale, so go check that out. It's for print and PDF. It's on sale, so I'm probably going to turn the sale off tomorrow. So tonight, go check it out. Copper bestseller, great value brand, Fallout. OSR roleplay.
It's really awesome.
Yeah, we've had fun playing it. So
I actually own it now. So somewhere my physical copies.
But I think that'll do it for this week's show. MagicUser, thank you, man, for coming on. It was a fun discussion.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
I had fun talking to you about all these wide-ranging topics that we covered today. It was good conversation. Mm-hmm. So go subscribe to his channel, support Vic's Kickstarter. I want to see it get funded, and I want to see.
A good chunk of that money is going to go right to John. So,
well, here's the thing too. Like, Vic wants to pay me to do art for it, but like, I already backed his project, so I'm like paying myself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
But I want to see it get funded. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the chats and the membership subscriptions. It means a lot. So, well, without further ado, we'll close this one out. Thank you, guys.
Peace out, y'all. Good night.
Laters.